The president, as I say, came out over the weekend and then reiterated on Monday that he is going to impose these tariffs if he doesn't get the trade deal. Not that he might, not that he could, but he's going to. Is there a danger that the president of the United States is painting himself into a corner here if we don't get a deal by Friday?
Well, there's the deadline for sure. I think the broader debate about a trade deal with China, actually, it was sort of, at least talking to the trade negotiators last week, China was sort of backing away from some of the commitments that they made, and I think that's the reason the president felt like he needed to raise the stakes. And so this threat of going to 25%, I think, is designed at least to get China back to the table, and evidently it looks like it has. It's worked in the near term, at least. They're coming to Washington this week to continue the discussions. But in my view, at least, I hope that he doesn't have to execute on going to 25%, because I think at the end of the day, we don't want to end up in a big trade war. But I think it is important to keep leverage on China to make sure that as they make agreements that they honor those, and that we've got an enforceable deal in the end. And I think that's ultimately, at least right now, where the president and his team seem to be headed.
Yeah, and I must say, Senator, that as I talk to Democrats and Republicans, pretty much everybody agrees we should be putting pressure on China, and there needs to be reform in our relations with China when it comes to trade. There's disagreement, of course, on how it's done. And I wonder, is the President of the United States and is the administration listening to you? I mean, you're quoted as saying that you don't think that you're getting through right now on the issue of how they're going about it at the moment. Is that accurate? Do you think you are getting through to them?
We've been trying. We had a meeting last week on Thursday. Half a dozen of us or so, members of the Senate Finance Committee, which has jurisdiction over trade, met with the president and his negotiating team at the White House to make the argument that we need to close these deals out, get USMCA done, drop the 232 tariffs on aluminum and steel with Canada and Mexico, not impose auto tariffs with the Europeans, and so there's a concern, I think, that the administration's proposals, at least currently, are going to be overall harmful to the economy. But I also think the president is very resolute. We got that when he made it very clear last week that if China doesn't play ball, that he is going to do this. And so I think that he believes profoundly, and I think the people around him on some level do, that he's got to exercise strength. The only thing they understand is, drawing a hard line, and he is drawing a hard line right now, and I hope that it has the desired result, because we do need to close these deals out. We've got a lot of industries and sectors of industries in this country that are being harmed by these trade tariffs that are already in place, and could be further harmed if they ratchet it up. So I'm hoping this deal closes quickly.
Senator, you mentioned the effect on the economy. We talked with Rich Clarida, the vice chair of the Fed, earlier today here at Bloomberg, and he talked about that and said it hasn't hurt too much so far, but it could. This is what he said.
The trade measures put in place really only had a very modest effect on the economy last year, and obviously we're hopeful that there is an agreement. If that is not the outcome, then we'll certainly take that into account in future policy.
So what is the risk, as you see it, to the overall economy, and for that matter, for the farmers back in your home state?
Well, the risk is very real for farmers. Farm income's half of what it was in 2013. The debt's 30% higher than it was in 2013, and the first quarter of this year saw farm income drop to the lowest level, the fastest in 3 years. So we've seen some real deteriorating conditions in the ag economy, and that's, so what you're seeing in the national economy right now are really good numbers: strong growth, low unemployment, great business investment, consumer confidence. All those metrics are being hit and exceeded, but in farm country, that's not the case. And so what we've tried to convey to the president is that we need some good news in agriculture. We need to close these deals out. The Canadian-Mexican Free Trade Agreement would be a good place to start, but that if they could get a deal with China that was good for agriculture, that would be a huge, I think, step forward and create a lot of forward momentum for the ag economy. But at the moment, it's tough out there, and we've tried to make that clear, help the administration understand what a lot of our farmers are going through and how hard it is right now for them to get financing, how hard it is for them to be profitable. These prices right now are below the cost of production in agriculture, and it's having a very detrimental effect on the overall ag economy, which is, I think, in time will be felt in the national economy. They tell us that the ag economy is only about 2% of the national economy, but I think these tariffs and trade these sort of fights that we're having right now, the impacts are going to be start to be felt more broadly than just in agriculture.
As you point out, Senator, it's not just China, it's also the USMCA, the successor to NAFTA, that is pending up there on the Hill. And obviously that affects a lot of farmers because of a lot of sales into Canada and into Mexico for that matter. What are the prospects right now of getting that ratified?
Well, there are two largest trading partners, and we made the point at the White House last week that the implementing legislation that would implement the deal that was agreed upon, now that the ITC review has been done, we need to move forward and at least set it up for votes. I think the White House is of a mind that they need to sort of work out with House Democrats what they need to have in order to pass it. A lot of our members here in the Senate, Republicans, are concerned about the 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum and that those need to be dropped in order to get an affirmative vote out of the Senate. So I would say right now it's a work in progress, but what we've tried to convey is there's a sense of urgency about this because, at least for agriculture, they want to see some forward progress. And if we get that deal passed through Congress and signed into law by the President, I think that will be perceived out there at least as movement in the right direction. But I will tell you that we need there's a sense of urgency about this. I'm not sure the administration fully grasps, and we were trying to convey that to them this last week.
Finally, Senator, it's only 2019, but we're already talking about 2020, and you're quoted as saying that you're actually pulling for Bernie Sanders on the Democrat side. Is that because you're a fan of Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, or is that because you'd rather run against him than somebody else?
Well, I mean, I think in the end, elections are about differences, and there couldn't be greater differences. If Bernie's their nominee, it sets up a great contrast for us. If you look at the economy and the success that we've had here with lowering taxes and regulatory burdens on business and the growth that you're seeing, and frankly, the growth on lower levels of the income scale and the job opportunities that are available to them. The Wall Street Journal observed here last week that it's actually narrowing income inequality in our economy right now because of the strong wage growth that we're seeing. So, I think that the contrast in policies, the vision for the future couldn't be more clear if Bernie's the nominee. And so we'll see what the Democrat primary voters decide. I think it's going to be a huge fight. Obviously, you got about 20 of them out there, but I don't for a minute underestimate his strength, at least with some voters out there. And I think that would set up well for us in a general election campaign.